Smash Gang, what's up, my guys? It's your boy Rizzy Riley. What I wanted to talk about today, I want to talk about third and fourth round picks, and I wanted to focus on maybe you have a fifth round, maybe even going to the sixth round in your league. I wanted to focus on those later rounds and how to approach it with a strategy as opposed to these rounds don't matter and I'm just going to pick the best player on the board. So a lot of the guys in my league, from what I've experienced, they're focusing so much on the first and the second round. And when they're trading, all they want to do is acquire second round picks. All they want to do is acquire first round picks. And nobody really tries to move for those third rounders. Nobody tries to move for the fourth rounders because there's a conception around those late round picks that, they have no value. Whereas I think that is the farthest thing from the truth that it could possibly be. And today I kind of wanted to go over, a couple of strategies for how do I attack the third and fourth round? What needs to be my mindset when I'm on the clock in the third round, when I'm on the clock in the fourth round? How do I take this draft pick that a lot of people think as a throwaway and make some value out of it? The first thing I think you need to look at, first off, is look at where guys are drafted in the NFL draft. Who was a sixth round pick that got drafted in the fourth round? Who was a fifth round pick that got drafted in the third round? And if your league doesn't adjust to those draft capital scenarios, you got a real chance to jump and make a splash in the third round or the fourth round. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, that, the Atlanta Falcons are expected to take a running back, right? And in the third round, they have Todd Gurley, but he's there on a 1-year deal for $5 million that I'm sure the team can make back on one Sunday. Let's say that, Keyshawn Vaughn is a late round pick. Let's say the Falcons go draft him in the third round. Now, he's probably going to slide up in your rookie drafts, but there's so many names in the first 20 picks in the first two rounds. Most of the guys in your league, they probably already have an idea of who they're going to take in the top 20 picks. I guarantee if you go poll 100 Dynasty owners, all of them have a plan for their first round. Like, not all of them, but all of them have a plan for the first round. Most of them have a plan for the second round. Not many of them have a plan for the third round. Not many of them have a plan for the fourth round. And I think that is where, as Dynasty owners, we can take advantage of that. We can take major advantage. Now, I don't want to sit here and tell you you're going to nail every third round pick. You're going to nail every fourth round pick. You'll be lucky to get 25-30% of these right. But if you have a stockpile of, third round picks or fourth round picks, there's a chance at making it maybe just one of those into a first round value. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I had 4 third round picks and I hit one of them and now they immediately rise to a first round draft capital, I would be doing backflips off my couch about that. I mean, tell me a fantasy owner that wouldn't trade 4 third round picks for a first. Every single one of them would, right? And I've told you, if you're hitting 25% on your third round picks, all you need is 4 thirds or 4 thirds and fourths, and all you need is one of them to hit. Now, over time, that percentage is not 25%. But I feel like part of the reason why is because a lot of dynasty owners just think of them as throwaways. They're going to pick the best player available. And I think when you dig deeper, you can find some real value in the third and fourth round. And notice the key word I just used there, value. I don't think in the third and fourth round you need to be drafting guys that are going to start on your team immediately. I don't think in the third and fourth round you even need to be looking at guys that are going to help you that next year. I think you need to look at guys that have a chance within a 2 to 3 year window of turning a third round pick into a guy that is a second round value or a third round value. Or I'm sorry, a first round value, not a third round value. We don't want them to stay stagnant. But what I'm getting to is I want to look at guys that land in situations that give them a chance to increase their value. Because I think we all know when guys get on the field on Sundays, their value goes up. Because the guy can't score fantasy points if he's on the bench of his NFL team. If he's on the field, he has a chance to get points for your fantasy team. And the more he's on the field and the more productive he is, the higher his value is going to go. You know, I'll give you a great example. Last year, Terry McLaurin, ADP in a rookie draft, third round. He gets drafted to Washington. Tell me a receiver on the team of the Washington Redskins who was an impact player at the start of 2019. There weren't any. Terry McLaurin had every chance of getting to play. And people were taking him in the third round. He had every chance to play. Those are the type of upside situations that you need to look for. And it may not be as quick of a turnaround as Terry McLaurin. But I think there are plenty of situations in this draft when we look at rookie ADP where there are guys within a 2 to 3 year window that they have a real chance of being productive players on Sundays and productive players for your fantasy teams. And if they end up not being a part of your plans because they were just a third or fourth round pick, their value increased tremendously. Now I'm able to flip them for second rounders and first rounders. I mean, tell me a fantasy player who wouldn't trade a 2020 third for a 2021 first or a 2022 first. Even a 2023 first. I would trade my third round pick in 2020 for a 2023 first right now. I think every other fantasy player that's in this thing for the long haul will do the same. I think there's a few. I think when we're looking at draft, you know, the draft weekend, which is coming up here in a few days, we really need to pay attention to what guys land in spots that allow them a chance within a 1 to 2, maybe 3 year window to really step in and produce. I'm not saying they will, and you don't need to draft it like they will. You need to draft on the chance that they can. All right? One of my prime examples. I live in Georgia. A lot of the guys in my league are Georgia fans or they hate Georgia, right? Shout out to Jonesy. He's an awful Georgia Tech fan. But Jake Fromm, the quarterback from Georgia this past year, he's a third to fifth round pick in the NFL draft probably. Who says the New Orleans Saints, who don't have a future at quarterback, you can say it's Taysom Hill all you want. No, it's not. It can't be. How you really think Sean Payton, the offensive guru, thinks that Taysom Hill is his franchise quarterback? You think he'd be putting his franchise quarterback out on the field in gadget plays? No. Let's say that the Saints take a fourth round pick and draft Jake Fromm. Fourth round pick, not much draft capital. Jake Fromm, he's overrated. Doesn't have much velocity on his arm. Neither does Drew Brees. Jake Fromm, he's short. So is Drew Brees. Now, comparing Jake Fromm to Drew Brees, that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying is there is a chance for Jake Fromm to be drafted in a situation where he's the heir apparent to the starting quarterback job as a 3rd and 4th round pick, not only in the NFL draft, but a 3rd and 4th round pick in your rookie draft. Probably even in a super flex. Tua's going before him. Joe Burrow's going before him. Justin Herbert's going before him. Jordan Love's going before him. Jalen Hurts is probably going to go before him. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacob Eason does. But let's say Jake Fromm gets drafted to a spot where there's a veteran quarterback at the end of his run. Indianapolis, New Orleans come to mind. Tampa Bay. Atlanta, if you think Matt Ryan's close. You know, the Titans have Tannehill for 2 more years. What if they take him? New England, you know? What if New England thinks they're going to ride out Brian Hoyer for a year and then they draft Jake Fromm and he's the heir apparent for the job? Would you spend a 3rd round pick on the starting quarterback for the Saints? Would you spend a 3rd round pick in your rookie draft for the starting quarterback for a guy in Bruce Arians' offense? Absolutely. You might have to wait a year or 2 for it to pay off. But the chance for these 3rd and 4th round picks are so small. Be precise in the guys that you pick. You know, like in your early round strategy, I think quarterbacks are king in Superflex. But if I'm sitting there with an early 3rd round pick and I have an early 1st round pick and I need a running back, this is like legit my team right now. I'm going to take that Jonathan Taylor, that DeAndre Swift in the top half of the 1st round. I'm not going to spend it on Tua. If I have to trade back and let somebody else pick 3rd, I'll do it. Because I know, based on what happens in the NFL draft, if it works out the way that I think it will, Jake Fromm's going to be drafted to take over a job. And I'm getting him in the 3rd round. You know, maybe you need immediate quarterback help. Maybe Tua and Joe Burrow is your answer. Maybe you're set at quarterback. Maybe you have a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady, and you know after a year or 2, you're going to have to look for that next quarterback. Why not spend a 3rd rounder on a chance, a really, really good chance, if the guy develops like he should? Another position, tight end. I think as volatile as tight end is in fantasy and the way the tight end landscape is in the NFL, there's some real value at tight end in these later rounds. And I think a lot of the guys in your league, they're going to say, tight ends are a crapshoot. They're going to take a wide receiver or they're going to take a running back in the late rounds. All the quarterbacks might be gone, especially if it's super flex. In the 4th round, you might have a chance at getting the 2nd or 3rd tight end on the board in the 4th round in a league that is desperate for playmaking tight ends. Would you spend a 4th round pick on a guy who is a fringe tight end 1? I would. And I think as volatile as tight end is, there are a lot of opportunities for that to happen if a guy lands in the right spot. You know, there's a lot of tight end jobs in the league that aren't locked down. There's a lot of them. You know, when you look around the league, do it yourself. Look around the league. How many teams have a tight end job that's locked down? It's about half. There's a ton of teams that are willing to go pay, you know, the New England Patriots, for example. What if they grab a guy like Hunter Bryant in the 5th or 6th round of the NFL draft? Who's the other tight end in New England? Who is it? You know, and I'm not saying he's going to go in and be productive day 1. But there's a chance he will be in the 4th round. And as volatile as tight end is, as long as that guy's getting on the field and as long as he's getting production, his value is going up. He might be a 4th round pick. You might sell him for a 3rd. You made profit. He might even rise to a 2nd round pick. You made a hell of a profit. You turned a 4th round pick into a 2nd round pick. Tell me a Dynasty owner alive that wouldn't trade his 4th round pick this year for a 2021 2nd or a 2022 2nd. There isn't one. I would trade my 4th round pick this year for a 2nd round pick 3 years down the line if I had the chance. So I think when you're looking at these late rounds, one, look for guys that slide, because it's going to happen. Guys are going to reach for their guy. Look at create your own big board. You know, if you're not a big guy on Jake Fromm, let somebody else reach for him. Create your own big board. Know who you're going to target in the 3rd. Know who you're going to target in the 4th. I would have, you know, maybe 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a quarterback, and a tight end, where I'm telling myself, if I'm on the clock in the 3rd round and one of those guys is there, I know who I'm taking. Because you'll find a lot of the guys in your league, they're not doing that. They're just going to pick the best guy available in the 3rd round, the first guy on the board, the first name they recognize. They're not going to look at where he landed. They're not going to look at who's in front of him and how long they're there. They're not going to look at draft capital. You know, they probably will look at draft capital. You know, they might say, okay, well, this guy was drafted in the 3rd round. He's the last 3rd rounder in the NFL draft on the board, so I'm going to take him. You know, whereas they just took a wide receiver on a team that has 3 or 4 stable wide receivers. You know, and the path for that guy to make the field is really small. So I think when you're drafting in the later rounds, don't overlook it, guys. Don't take it as a throwaway. Don't just pick the best guy on the board. Pick the guy who has the best chance to improve his value. You know, Dynasty is so much an asset game. That's why I love it so much. It's about, what can I buy now that's going to profit later? What can I buy now that's going to rise in value? Because when guys rise in value, that means they're also helping you produce on Sundays. They're helping your fantasy team become a winner. And the thing about Dynasty that we all know, it's not stagnant. It's never sitting still. The thing I love about Dynasty, I'm so glad I got into it, is that it's fantasy football 365 days a year. It's never stopping. There's always a move that you can make to make your team better. And I think these 3rd and 4th round picks, a lot of teams, a lot of owners, they're just like, I have it, so I'm just going to use it. Why not be smart about it? Pick the guy that you think has the best chance to increase his value, and in turn, build your assets slowly. Build your assets, guys, because the more assets you have, the better your team's going to be. The more trade value you have. You know, I might not need a Jake Fromm. Personally, I have 4 quarterbacks that are all young that I think are going to be in the league for a while. I have Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Jimmy G, and Drew Lock. I think those guys are set for 3-4 years. They're going to be in the league. And as long as they're playing on Sundays, I don't think their value is going to decrease. But I take a 3rd round pick on Jake Fromm if he lands in the right spot. And I just wait, and I'm patient. And let's say I'm right. He's a super flex quarterback. I just got a 1st round pick because I have the starter in New Orleans for what's supposed to be a throwaway pick. I turn it into a 1st rounder. I turn it into an early 2nd. And I'm increasing the ability for me to make big-time trades to be able to push me towards a championship in the long haul. I hope this has been entertaining. I hope it's been informational. Smash Gang, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got some really, really good stuff coming for you guys here soon. And we'll holler at you guys next time. Peace.